I want to start very basic and start with like a bit of a maintenance drill. This really helps me to maintain the guard, but also as you get a little bit more comfortable with De La Riva, you might purposely start to stuff yourself and use this as a tool to off-balance your partner and start to set up your sweeps. Albie, can I use you? So we're going to start, you can go ankle or pant grip, up to you. For elevating, I don't think it really matters as much, but the pant grip offers a little bit more security in this control with my De La Riva, just because it limits what passes Albie can do. In a sense, especially the knee cut, for example. So the drill anyways is going to be, if I have my De La Riva here and Albie manages to stuff my foot, he's essentially getting rid of my distance management frame. I sure could push on him with my upper body, but my leg is always going to be much stronger. So you see he naturally starts to get closer to me. At the very least, holding the pant will limit his ability to knee cut. If he goes into like a knee cut position here, it like lifts his heel off the ground and turns his knee. So it makes it a little bit harder for him to set up his knee cut just by having his pant grip alone, okay? So if you don't already play with the pant grip, I would suggest starting to play with it now. And you just hold it the same way as a sleeve. I'm not allowed to go 4 fingers inside, same way in the pant. So I have to use my thumb to roll the grip and get a nice hook grip with my fingers outside of the pant. Okay, so I'll do the same thing on the pant here. And then my hand's gonna go to the collar. Whatever collar you prefer. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of choice mid-roll. So whatever one you want. I like the cross collar, but same side is also pretty strong here. Now, like I mentioned, Albie's gonna start to stuff my leg into headquarters here. And for this drill to work, see how Albie's purposely squatting down on my leg. If he stuffs me to headquarters but stays tall, it's gonna be so hard to move him, but I don't need to because I could probably just take my foot out. So partner on top, when you stuff the leg to headquarters, make sure you're sitting low like this. So leg's stuck here, okay? Now, as he starts to stuff me, I preemptively take my own De La Riva hook out. You can actually hurt your ankle or your knee by keeping the De La Riva hook in here when he squats down like this. So I purposely take my own hook out, and I'll use the leg that he stuffed to hook his thigh. Okay, then my outside leg, the De La Riva hook, is just gonna hook underneath, and that way it takes a lot of pressure off my ankle. Now, from here, I'm gonna do 2 movements. The first is loading him up. It's like a spring, so I'm gonna actually pull him into me. I pull my knees to my chest and the collar grip. Again, what's stopping him from knee cutting is not only the pant grip, but my knee in the middle of his chest plus this frame. So I wouldn't choose to hang out here, but I'll do it very quickly. So I'll pull, and then once I feel his hand go to the floor, that's a pretty good indicator that I've loaded him up enough that I can redirect him. So now I'm gonna push him to my right, not only using my hand on the collar, but also using my legs to straighten, like I'm kicking him in the butt. That's gonna help just create a little bit more space. Okay, just enough here that I can see how my leg can free up. So I'm gonna pull my knee to my chest, my foot goes to the thigh, and then the foot on the thigh is gonna help me cut my angle back to De La Riva as Albie repostures. Okay, so as he repostures, I swivel. You see I have a nice angle here, and a lot of times this will help you to start to dump your partner this way to set up any sweeps. Okay, so again, we're doing it as like a drill of Albie progressing, but I actually don't mind this, especially with opponents who are really tall. Sometimes they'll try and leg drag this outside leg. So rather than letting this happen, sometimes I'll purposely stuff my own leg here into the De La Riva or into the headquarters position. So there's no set like rule about this, I guess, but just kind of guidelines. I purposely wouldn't stuff my leg if I wasn't comfortable with this, but you'll find you're really good at elevating once you stuff the leg, once you get practice. So again, we're here, Albie's gonna stuff my leg. I unhook the De La Riva, hook with the inside leg, De La Riva hooks underneath. Pull with the collar and my knees to my chest, redirect him to the right, and now I can see there's a big space between his legs where my foot can go back to the thigh, and I can swivel back to a strong De La Riva angle. He goes again, 1, 2, knees to my chest, extend him away, foot on the thigh, swivel back. And if you do it correctly, see how we're doing like a bit of a circle here? You should kind of be spinning on the spot. Every time I get my foot back to the thigh, I use that to swivel back this way to a strong angle. So again, he stuffs, 1, 2, swivel. He goes again, 1, 2, swivel. Okay, and every time I purposely swivel, almost so much so that I'm on my left hip, and then I'll have the power to start using this to like tip him this way for a berimbolo or just like a technical stand-up sweep too if you want. But for now, we're just working on that motion of elevating and moving our partner. All right, 1, 2. Okay, so a couple good questions that I want to just address with everyone here is if my partner has like really good balance, and this could be like a couple reasons why this would happen. Maybe when he stuffs me here, he just squats really low, and maybe he's bigger and I can't really move him. If I can't pull him forward, then what other direction can I go? Backwards, I can push him back. So if I'm pulling Albie forward, he's not budging, then I'm gonna use my knee pushing back and my hand in the collar to push him backwards. just to load him up even further. So if I'm here, he's not moving, then I'll push him back. That makes him step, and see how I sit up too. So now I have the momentum of like my rock back into the movement. So when I'm here, now I can like really use that movement to off balance him. And it might not even be on the first attempt, so let's rewind. If Albie like really sits down, maybe he even drops his knee close to my butt here. Go down with this knee, Albie. Yeah, here. Now he's like really tight and close to me, it's hard to move him. Same thing, I might have to rock into this, so I might have to push him back and like really rock a couple times before I can get him off balance enough to rebuild. So just because we're practicing it nice and smooth in technique now doesn't mean it's always going to be super fluid. You mind just grabbing the door? Thank you. So you might have to do a couple like iterations or attempts at like rocking him and moving him to be able to off balance. Okay, let's stand back up, Albie. Thank you. So a couple different sweeps I was thinking about going over today. Still kind of undecided. Maybe let's do the baby bolo today. So what I can do to kind of take the back from here, and this is pretty common with the De La Riva hook. Anytime my De La Riva hook is strong, whether I stretch him out with this leg or not, it starts to turn Albie and expose his back. So most of the time in De La Riva, we can start to set up these sweeps, regardless of whatever grips that I have, okay? You can do it with his cross sleeve, you can do it with the collar, you can do it with the same side sleeve. It's all the same. One thing I like to do actually is if I feel I have a grip over Albie's sleeve here and he wants to break this grip, sometimes you'll feel your partner posture up and like really try and rip this grip out of your hands. That actually is a good time to start to set up our back take because he's posturing up. It gives me a little bit more room to work. So for the next sweep, you can choose again either grip or whatever grip you want, but also just with the sleeve to start. If I'm here and I feel like Albie's really pulling away from this grip and trying to posture tall, that's my timing. I'll let him pull the grip. I'm going to use my foot on his hip like a stepping stool. That's going to lift my hip up. I'm going to remove my De La Riva hook and swing to hook his far hip. Okay, I wouldn't normally pause here, but I do it just to exaggerate how much control I have in this position. You should be able to hold yourself here for as long as you need to, but once my foot catches his far hip, then I no longer need to hang out here, and I'm just going to do like a big hip hinge. So I want to grab his far ankle, but obviously it's so far from me here, so once I get here, I can kind of let my hip drop to the floor, but I'm going to do this massive ab crunch, so I'm imagining my toes coming to my head here, and that's going to force Albie to stutter step. So when I'm here, I just do this. And see how that forces him to step. Now, my right hand is going to grab a grip on the butt or the belt, up to you guys, whatever you can reach for. And then my hand that was on the first pant grip is going to switch to the far pant grip or ankle, whatever one you can reach. Okay, and then now, my foot that's across his lap or his hip here is going to circle out, and I'm going to tuck my foot behind. Now, I'm not fully flush with him yet, so I'll use the tension of both these hooks just to kind of like jump my butt to square up behind him. And then now I'm going to quickly double up to double pant grip on the butt or again the belt. I'm going to pull him onto me, extend my legs away until he's in a seated position, and then I go for my seat belt. Now even here with the hooks, I think it's pretty important that I release one butterfly or crab ride hook for my back hook. And I keep this other hook on the other side here. And that's going to help me take him to the side I want. Okay, if you don't care, then sure, I can just throw this hook here and end up seated. But I want to fall to my strong choking side. So I keep that hook and that helps lift him. And then I can put my top hook in. Okay. So there's so many different ways to do this in terms of grip switches. This way for me, I think is the best way. It stops Albie from turning to face me. So you can grab the far hip or the hip instead of that far pant. But I find what happens, my partner's gonna like spin and turn to face me. So we'll talk about that too. Let's do another angle here. So again, you could use it with the sleeve grip. I could also do it with the collar too. Either way, it's the same movements with your hips, regardless of whatever grip you have. I just find, in terms of setting it up myself, the timing of my partner trying to like rip out of this sleeve grip is like a good moment to like explode into the movement. Okay, but if I can't get it going and I control the collar, this is good too. So again, from here, I step my foot on his hip, the leg that we stuffed and rebuilt. I'm gonna lift my hips in the air, take the De La Riva hook out, swing it all the way to the far hip here. Okay, and then now here again, I'm gonna drop my hip to the floor and do like a big hip hinge here. And that forces his foot to step. Okay, sometimes he might even fall. Now, I like to switch to this. For me, this feels the most comfortable and stops him from turning away from me. Sometimes guys like to come here right away and not even make a grip with his hand. The problem is if I just grab like the butt grip here, Albie can still kind of turn. So as I start to try and follow him here, he keeps turning back into me and I start to lose this fight. Okay, so I prefer, once I come here, to grab this. I'm really adamant on this. Now if Albie does try and turn, like he just pulls me with him and he can't actually rotate around me. Now my foot that was on top is gonna swivel behind. I jump my butt, and then now I can double up, pulling him down, extending him away to a seated position, seatbelt, first hook, take him to the side, second hook. One more time, a little bit faster. Now let's go with this sleeve, let's say. So either grip, doesn't make a difference. All the work is being done pretty much with the leg work. So foot on the hip, lift, swing the De La Riva, hook to the hip, big hip hinge to make him step, reach for the second pant. You could upgrade here to the butt grip, and then now I just need to swivel my crab ride hook, jump my butt, load him up, extend away the seatbelt, first hook to the side, second hook. Okay, so when you do it fast, it looks nice and fancy, but when we slow it down, it's pretty easy as long as we understand how we're using our legs. That right leg on the hip is pretty much doing everything. It's gonna help you lift your hip, swing that De La Riva hook tight. Let's try this, guys. 1, 2. Already with our legs stuffed, so I can set up in my De La Riva, I get the grips I want, and then as soon as Albie stuffs me, okay, now we go live. Okay, so from here, same objective. I'm still trying to off balance him, move him, look for my sweeps, but I want the partner on top to be very aggressive in trying to stuff the leg. The second round, you can be a little bit more open in terms of trying to sweep, submit, and pass in other different ways as the partner on top. But for the first round, I want to just get a lot of practice elevating and moving our partner once they stuff us here. Okay, so your main priority here should be to just regain your distance management hook and then start to set up your sweeps. But the first round, we're going to start at a deficit just so we can force ourselves to work that first movement of like push, pull, and trying to rebuild. Okay? So person on top.